I've made some changes to my wildcard draft, so stick with me and check them out. Okay, the reason for the changes in the draft is essentially as we've had blank game week 32 announced. So Brighton, Chelsea, Man City and Man United are all going to blank in game week 32, and that's obviously based on the FA Cup result of the weekend just gone. Game week 29 is obviously a double for 12 teams, as we know, so it makes sense really to try and pad your team, in my opinion certainly, with teams that double in 29 and also, if possible, play in 32, and that's where some of the changes to my team have come from. Annoyingly, some of the teams that blank in 32 also have a double later on, so the likes of Brighton, even Chelsea, Man United and Man City are looking like they double in either 34 or 37 as well. I'm getting close really in my personal team, not talking about the wildcard now, getting close to just playing my free hit in 32. I know it's only 4 teams that are blanking that game week, but it's like half my team, and I think you could well do that with this wildcard team as well. So let's get into the positions. So this is how the defence is lining up. It's a very similar back sort of 4 to what I had in the last one. Kepa in goal. I still think he's probably the best goalkeeper. You could go for Nick Pope. But he's just a bit too much money in my opinion. Dropping Chilwell to Shaw as I've done here does actually give you the money in the bank to go Kepa to Pope. Pope obviously doubles in 29 and he doesn't blank in game week 32. And he also could well have a double in 31 as well. So he's an attractive option as well. But I've gone for Kepa for the time being just because I think he's worth the money that you pay. But yeah, I'm saying Nick Pope is an alternative if you want to go for him. Trippier, Estupiñán and Shaw. Trippier, similar reasons to Pope really. Best defender in the game in terms of points. Doubles in 29, potentially doubles in 31 as well. And doesn't blank in 32, sorry. Estupiñán, he's the best Brighton defender in my opinion. The most attacking of the bunch, and he seems to be completely nailed for them. There's a slight risk basically. On international duty, he's got to travel to Australia for one of his games for Colombia. I think he'll be fine. It might be Ecuador rather than Colombia. I think he'll be fine to come back. But a couple of people on Twitter are a little bit worried about whether he will be fit to come back. I think he'll be fine. And then I've dropped Chilwell for Luke Shaw, purely because I think Luke Shaw offers better value and will probably score similar points. He's 0.8 million less than Chilwell, and he's expected to double 2 more times this season, in 34 and possibly 37 as well. Whereas Chilwell, he's not going to double just as much as you saw in the fixtures. So I think Shaw as a long-term hold is probably a better option. And just looking at their points, I think they're really similar in terms of what they're expected to get, and as well as like their nailedness in the team as well, how likely they are to start. I think that's pretty similar for both of them. So yeah, dropped Ben Chilwell for Luke Shaw. On to my midfield now, and it's a very exciting change. I've changed basically one of my Brighton midfielders, but I do want to mention an alternative for Bruno Fernandes, and that is Mo Salah. I do think you could well go for Mo Salah as an alternative for him. I know the 2 fixtures he got in game week 29 are Man City and Chelsea, but I've just got a feeling he can score in both of those games. I don't think Man City and Chelsea are the defensive juggernauts that they have been in previous seasons. Salah's got a really good record against Man City too, so I really do fancy him as an option for 29. And importantly, he doesn't blank in game week 32 like the Man United players do. So Fernandes to Salah could well make sense for you if you had the money. I've gone for Maddison, McAllister and Rashford to round out the midfield. And yeah, essentially I've changed Mitoma for Solly March. I just think eventually the underlying numbers will catch up with Mitoma. His finishing has been just unbelievably clinical this season. And it's similar really to what we saw, well, in my opinion, with Son last year. And I don't think you can call his season this year variance as such, but he had such a strong season last year and he was well and above his expected underlying numbers, whereas Mitoma this season is doing similar, obviously not scoring goals at the level, but he's outperforming his underlying numbers by a similar level, and I think it's only a matter of time before that almost drops off. Whereas March and McAllister, their underlying numbers are much better, and they have scored more goals, albeit only 1 more goal than Mitoma in the Premier League. But yeah, I've just stuck with March, I've gone for him, and then McAllister. And then a small change to my front line. Previously, I had Darwin Núñez in there, but I've actually gone for Alexander Isak from Newcastle. I think he looks a really, really great pick. Great value for the upside that he provides. I think ever since he's been like on the pitch for Newcastle, he's involved or scored 85% of their goals or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I hate to say it as quite a fan of Callum Wilson. I know he gets injured quite a lot, but I do think he's a good player. I think Isaac's even better. And I do think he probably takes his place in the team now, providing he doesn't get injured. And yeah, just in general, he's got a better injury record than Callum Wilson. And his underlying numbers are fantastic. He's on 0.8 expected returns per 90, which is, I think, third in the Premier League for like regular playing strikers, only behind Darwin Núñez and Haaland. And the reason I've gone for him mainly, and it's a similar point to Nick Pope and Trippier, but he's got a potential double game week in 31. So not only is he going to double in 29, he's got a decent chance of having a double in 31. And yeah, just the fact that on the pitch he takes the penalties, looks really clinical, really dangerous. I think he's a great option, and especially considering he might have a couple of double game weeks coming up. And here's the team. So as I said, defence, midfield and strike force, as you've seen on the clips before. And then my bench, I've gone for David Raya, similar to my last video. I just think the Kepa-Raya rotation works really well. When Kepa has a difficult game, Raya has a relatively easy one and vice versa. So the rotation works really well. I've left enough money in the bank to buy Erling Haaland right off the bat. I think if you can save yourself a transfer, and I know he blanks in game week 32, but I think for that Southampton away fixture in 30, you're going to want him back in your team and to be your captain. So yeah, I think you need him, even on your wild card, really, just to sit there on your bench. And obviously, when you play your wild card, you don't have your bench boost, so you don't need to worry about a strong bench to play that. Also, I don't think Erling Haaland's a bad option for this game week at all. I know I've spoken about Liverpool being able to score against anyone, but I also think they can concede goals against anyone, especially Man City. And I do fancy Haaland to grab some goals in that game. Botman, similar reason to, Trippier and Isaac. I mentioned Pope as an option as goalkeeper, so if you could replace Botman with someone else, you could have Pope in goal, just to really triple up on Newcastle with their potential double in 31 and no blank in 32. And then I've gone for White as the cheapest Arsenal defender, purely because he saves you a bit of money on Zinchenko. I do think Zinchenko and Gabriel are the two strongest, but they're also two of the most expensive, so I've gone down to Ben White just to save a bit of cash. But yeah, that's the team. It's looking really good for 29, and I think sets you up nicely in the future as well. And that's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful. If you did, let me know what you think of the team in the comments. If you agree or disagree with any of these picks, I'd be interested to hear it, because as I say in every outro, I'm all about difference of opinion in FPL. If everyone thought the same way, it would be really boring. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel to see plenty more FPL content coming your way this season.